Greetings, beloved. Hi, it's Dr. Amanda Noelle, and I help badass lady bosses to manifest their ultimate soulmate. So I'm going to share the #1 reason today why high-achieving, smart, beautiful women that have it all except for their partner end up often settling for less, sabotaging, and staying single. I'm going to share this reason so that you can avoid it and call in your beloved super fast. So stay tuned.
No, I don't want to waste what's left.
So girl, the reason that there are these high power entrepreneurs, whether you have an online business and you have risen to the ranks up through Google, you are taking high-end clients, you are killing in your business, or maybe you work for a company and you've just risen up the ranks and you're doing awesome. So here's why it can be so hard to master things with relationships and so easy, or it takes work, but why it's been easier to manifest that in the workspace. What happened is we grew up in a man's world. Things were shifting, and definitely the women's lib movement did make a big difference, but when you grew up, we were still in the repercussions of the man's world. There was still the residue, and it wasn't really until the 20th century that women were allowed to receive education, to have higher degrees that actually counted. In 1947, Cambridge University finally acknowledged that their own degrees were equal and counted as higher levels of education as did the men's, and still there were a lot of counter arguments and grumbling, and we lived in this kind of sexist, overtly sexist world for several more decades. Women weren't considered entrepreneurs. The word entrepreneur didn't really apply to women until the 20th century. Before that, entrepreneurial women were really owning things like brothels. It was considered sort of like an outlandish thing. It was what single women who weren't in a place to get married, or really poor, impoverished women whose men had lost their money to gambling. It was kind of the renegade outcasts of society, women making money on the side. They weren't even called entrepreneurs. So when we fast forward and all of a sudden, 1970s, 80s, 90s, women are trying to keep up, either you or your mother, that first generation of women rising to the level of equality, not just being the same men. Well, we had a wounded masculine. We had anger. And so why so often smart, successful women have a hard time finding a man who's smart and successful who will stick around and love them is because they're holding on to their wounded masculine, the wounds that their father and the women in their family had, and these pieces absolutely can and need to be cleared before aligning with your soulmate. When a woman comes from a wounded masculine, she will often be addicted to achievement. She'll be addicted to attention, success, external success. It's all about the numbers. How much is she making? How many clients is she getting? How many, how much is her car? Or how tiny is her waist? What does she look like? How many friends does she have? How long is he paying her attention on the date? It's very measurable metrics when we're coming from the wounded masculine, because actually the masculine is important to have. We just need to balance it. The masculine, what it does is he is going to look at the external world. The masculine energy is going to scan and measure things, make sure that things are healthy and happy. The feminine is all about how do you feel? What is going on? Does my body feel good? Are my emotions, in alignment? Am I happy? Do I feel a connection? So the masculine doesn't care about the feminine when he's coming from his wounded place. When he's just all masculine, he only cares about winning the game, rising in the ranks, collecting the paycheck. So when a woman is trying to keep up in a man's world, and she's doing it from that old masculine system that men evolved over thousands of years to evolve the systems of the bank, business systems, the psychology. It's all been designed historically over men and the wives and be at home. So as a woman steps into this world, it doesn't work for very long for her to act as a man. She can perhaps play the game, but her feminine will be aching, will be longing, will be lonely for connection, to be really seen. I've worked with women who are incredibly successful. They have million-dollar empires, and their sexual connection to themselves is zero. Like, they don't have orgasms. And so they have all the wealth in the world, all the things that they need, and yet their bodies are lacking bliss and are lacking nourishment. I've also worked with many women who go through massive burnout, where they, on the outside, have a very healthy and happy life, but on the inside, they're a mental and emotional wreck. They are depleted, their adrenals are exhausted, their cortisol levels are through the roof. Sometimes they have things like allergies and chronic infections and coughs and colds happening. And I have been there myself. I had to take a very long pause in my career on numerous occasions until I learned that burnout is not an option for me, that my body won't lie. And so I've learned how to listen, but it is so important to not let our bodies falling apart be that indicator of, hey, girl, you need love, you need TLC, you need care. So that brings me to the solution. The solution to the problem is healing our wounds of the masculine, looking at why do we need to be good enough for the man? Why do we need to play a man's game? And if money and success and external wins are so important and our feelings are not important, if that's the operating system we're working in, how can that be rewritten? How can that be realigned so we can have it all, so we can have external and internal bliss, abundance, and warrior success? It's fully possible to have this, and sometimes at the beginning it takes making sacrifices. If you've been winning in your career and you have a successful business event that's coming up that you know it's going to be your annual event, you're going to make all this money, and your body's falling apart, I urge you to listen to your body. I urge you to do whatever it takes to be in alignment with both your feminine and your masculine. And sometimes the masculine has to put down his sword, cut his losses, and allow for a new model to grow. Behind this, there's a deep longing for the woman in you to be met with love, to be met with support and commitment. Someone who's showing up not just because you are successful, because of what you can do, because of how many people like and respect you, but because you like yourself, because you like being with yourself, and because you are so magnetic, because you've filled yourself up with what makes you happy, that you can't help but attract your soulmate, your mirror of your soul. It happens every time, like clockwork. When I work with my clients, they go through a transformation where they let go of this false version of a wounded masculine aspect of themselves, and they reestablish their true values of what does it mean for them to win? How do they want to feel, regardless of looks? And when we come from feeling, and when we come from the inside first, then we rebirth ourselves as true queens of our queendom, so that our king can arrive and share the space with us. I would love to hear what you think, so post in the comments below. I know that you have your own unique experience as a powerful female entrepreneur. I would love to know what works for you, what hasn't been working, and if you have any questions, go ahead and like and subscribe. And if you don't know, I lead a complimentary new moon ceremony. We have one that's coming up in Taurus. Every month we have one. The one in Taurus is really about bringing pleasure into your blissness, into your business, merging your bliss and turning it into pleasure, and turning your pleasure into a business. So I hope to see you there. I'll put the link below down in the description box so you can join. It's free, it's fabulous. Women from all over the world join. We do a little mastermind and set our intentions from our place of pleasure and even pussy power. So I'll see you there. Namaste. Namasko.
Turn us to thousands, and we'll grow in